Yeah, what were you in?
That's the mystery.
That's one thing ain't nobody gotta ever worry about that about me. I can't stand the thief.
Same.
If I ain't man enough to ask you for it, I don't need it.
Exactly.
Like the Pepsi, that ain't even for me. That's for yeah, lady named Miss Parker. That's it.
Ah,
She likes Pepsi, but she was drinking a Mountain Dew because I guess her roommate gave it to her.
not bad.
So I told her I'm gonna find you a Pepsi.
For those who think young.
And she was nice lady. And I like the Reese's, so I went on and got me a Reese's cup while I was in here.
Nice.
You have a quiet evening.
You too, sir. And hello there, viewers. It is the DOUG here, and it's time for the NFL picks for Week 15. Of course, we'll go over the playoff standings as well. But there is one college game we got to talk about, the last college game of the season before we get to the playoffs, and that is Army and Navy, which is this Saturday at 3 o'clock on CBS. Navy is favored by 6 points. I'm going to take Navy to win this one, and they improved to 10-2 for the season. At least we know with Army and Navy, we don't have to worry about any of their players or coaches opting out of the bowls, which gives me to something that most people want to know my opinion about Notre Dame opting out, and then Kansas and Iowa State and all these other teams who got invited after we had so many opt-outs. Here's the thing. Let's be honest here. Almost most college sports fans, I'm not saying all of them, but most of them are probably only going to care about the playoff. That's how we're groomed since the playoffs have started. And if you don't believe me, just look at all the bowl games we have. The only two I've been seeing hyped up is the Pop-Tart Bowl, which has relatively only been around a few years, I think. And I think, to be honest, it's only because we get to see Pop-Tart mascots kill themselves. And then the other one is maybe the one for Texas and Michigan. Other than that, I haven't seen no one talk about the Rates Bowl, Xbox Bowl. No one's really been talking about the Snoop Dogg Bowl, which is on the CW. And no one's been talking about the other bowl game that's on CBS. So, to me personally, bowl games have kind of become like all-star games and pro sports, not really mattering anymore. I know someone's going to be like, well, it matters for the seniors, who are not transporting or not going to the NFL because, they're not that talented. You do know we have other football pro leagues. Like we got Canadian, we got the one that the Rock wins in the spring, so they can go play elsewhere. Just like with basketball, there's leagues in other countries, there's baseball leagues in other countries. But, personally, I have no problem with teams opting out. I have no problem with what Notre Dame did. And almost everyone's going to say, oh, that's because you're a Notre Dame fan. They went to a bowl game and destroyed FSU, which is true. However, what people forget about that, FSU, a lot of their star players and starting players opted out of that game because they didn't want to play in it because they felt they got cheated. And then if you remember, the players they did have, most of their hearts were not in the game. Personally, I'm going to say this. If you're going to opt out of the bowl anyway, if you're a player or a coach, why bother? You. We saw Iowa State's coach decide to go, hey, I'm going to go, go coach at Penn State. Bye-bye. And their team got effed over, and then Kansas State's coach, I believe, retired. And yet, and I hate their conference for what they did to them. They were like, oh, we'll understand it, but we're going to fine you both $500,000 because, we have obligations. That's the conference, not the team. And I'm sorry, if your coach leaves at the last minute, like the one for Iowa State did, and I know everyone's like, well, use an interim head coach. The interim head coach is not going to have time to get them ready, particularly if they're going to use a new playbook. So sorry, I'm not buying that. I think all these teams who did opt out are the 5 and 7s, because they say, hey, the season's over. We don't really care. I don't blame them. Get ready for next year. And that's what Notre Dame's doing. Personally, I'm going to say this. If I was a head coach of a team and I didn't make the playoff, I'd ask my team, do you want to go to a bowl or do you just want to start preparing for next year? Because remember, coaches and players who leave, they have to be ready to go because the portal happens right before the bowl games, which kind of in themselves, I think, hurts the college bowl games. because you have players who will opt out to get ready for the draft, which that's understanding, or opt out to play elsewhere for money, and they got to do it quickly. And I know that's one reason why everyone says that's why Kiffin went to LSU, because he's got to get the team and the staff ready for next season. He's got to do it now, which I understand that, but I feel like a lot of people are just raging and they're saying, Notre Dame needs to join the conference. Notre Dame tried to join the conference years ago. Yes, I know it was back in the 1920s, but they tried and it didn't work out. They got told no on 2 occasions. The third one, they said no because of how they are doing. So, there's that. That's weird. So there's that. And to be honest, everyone's been telling me, oh, all bowl games are important. To the ones who say every bowl game is important, I want you to do a live stream of watching every bowl game. I guarantee you're not going to do it because you're going to miss 1 or 2 because you're going to say, oh, look. Then you don't care because you can pull it up on your phone and listen to the radio. So, sorry. Personally, I'm probably going to skip a lot of the bowl games like I did last year. The only difference is last year I made predictions. This year, I'm not. I don't see the point when almost anybody just cares about the playoff. Sorry, it is what it is. Now, getting to the NFL picks and standings real quick. In the AFC, Broncos are the 1 seed, followed by the Patriots at 2, Jaguars at 3, Steelers at 4, then it's the Chargers, Bills, and Texans rounding out. Colts, Baltimore, Kansas City, Miami, and the Cincinnati Bengals are still alive, but they need hope to get in. Also, I should point out Philip Rivers is back in the NFL, which is hilarious. He might be playing this weekend. That'd be awesome, but I think he's going to get destroyed by them. And then in the NFC, the Rams are the 1 seed, followed by Green Bay, Philly, Tampa Bay, and then your wild card teams are the Seahawks, Niners, and Chicago, with Detroit, Carolina, Dallas, and Minnesota still alive at the moment. As far as for the tank now, because remember, here we also care about the NFL draft standings, who's leading that. Right now, the Giants are holding that at 2-11 at the 1 seed, followed by the Raiders at 2nd and Titans on 3rd. Tennessee wasn't first until they until they beat Cleveland this past week, and then Browns are number 4, and then Saints hold the 5th spot, followed by Washington, the Jets, the Cardinals, the Atlanta Falcons, and then the Cincinnati Bengals rounding out the top 10. So there is that, my friends. Now, of course, I should point out for the season, I'm 135, 72, and 1. Last week I went 9 and 5. So let me get to the picks real quick for this week. Tomorrow night, we have the Bucks and Falcons. I am taking Tampa Bay to win this one. I know they got some injuries, but they're coming back on the right time and all that. So that's good news for them. Give me the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tampa Bay is favored by 4.5 points over Atlanta, who has nothing to play for. Getting to the Sunday games, except for the spoiler, I guess. Ravens and Bengals start off the 1 o'clock games. Baltimore's favored by 2.5. This is an elimination game because whoever loses this may as well kiss the playoff hopes goodbye, particularly if you're Cincinnati. Bengals kind of choked their game away against the Bills, because they were playing great that first half, and then the defense showed up. Baltimore looks lost because, granted, I know a lot of people saying, the refs got that we're not calling the game fair. I watched that game. I have to kind of agree as well, but I feel like personally the NFL is not going to come out and say the refs screwed up. If they do, they're not going to change it. Refs could literally be blamed, and yet though you'll have fans be like, "Oh, that's why you don't leave it in the refs' hands." Yet though these will be the same people, and their team screws up, gets cheated by the refs, they'll be yelling about it. So at this point, I think every ref should have to be looked at to make sure and explain why they got it, and then if they got it wrong, fine them. But that ain't going to happen. But give me the Ravens here. Ravens are favored by 2.5. Next, it's the Bears and the Browns. Give me Chicago here. Better team. Cleveland's just maybe found their quarterback in Sanders. We shall see. Bears are favored by 7.5 points. Bears bounce back after a hard loss. By the way, it is in Chicago. Browns have one of the worst records on the road at 1-5. Chicago is one of the better home teams this year at 4-1. Up next at 1 o'clock, the Chargers against the Chiefs. Chiefs are favored to win this for some reason. Here's the thing. This is do or die for Kansas City. Yes, they're 5-2 at home, but Kansas City's not been the same team as they were in years past. A lot of these close games they have lost. And I'm taking the Chargers here. The Chargers are banged up. I think we'll finally see maybe, I wouldn't say the end of the Chiefs dynasty, but maybe a little bit of a hiccup. You know, I know. So give me the Chargers here. Kansas City is on life support. They need to win out and get some hope to make the playoffs. But give me the Chargers here. Up next, Bills and Patriots. Patriots are favored by 1.5 points. Give me the Bills here. I think, they're not overlooking the Patriots like they did last time. I think, Bills have some defensive issues. Bills need this to, hold that steady in the wild card category. Patriots want to win this so they can try to pass Denver. But give me the Bills here, by the way. Patriots are also one of the better home teams as well at 5-2. Yes, Kansas City is as well, but yeah, I don't trust Kansas City. Patriots, though, if they win, I'm going to be surprised like we were a few weeks ago. Up next, we have a Super Tank Bowl. As it is the Washington Redskins against the New York Giants. This is, of course, a tank bowl situation here, mostly because of the fact of, both teams are terrible. Redskins have a lot of issues. They've already decided they're going to put in the backup for this week, which they should probably just leave the backup in the rest of the season. You don't have anything to play for personally. So there is that. I think the Giants will probably win this game, which will hurt their draft standing a bit, but it is what it is on that one, my friends. Which if you're Raiders fans and Titans, you want that just because of the fact that you want the Giants to lose. You want the Giants to win if you're the Raiders and Titans, but Giants want the Giants to lose. Let me rephrase that real quick. Moving on to the next game. By the way, the Giants are favored by 2.5 points. Moving on to the Raiders and Eagles. Eagles are favored by 11.5 because the Raiders are terrible. And I do got the Eagles, but I'm a little bit worried because of how the Eagles have been playing. They lost 3 straight. This happened a few years ago where they had that big division lead and then they blew it. So give me the Eagles, but if the Eagles lose this, there's going to be a lot of questions happening. A lot of questions. Jets and Jaguars. Jaguars favored by 12.5. Jets are one of the worst teams in the league. They're 1-4 on the road. Give me the Jags. Think it's going to be a good thing for Trevor Lawrence and the Jags to get more healthy as well. And they're in a tight division because Colts and Texans are not that far behind. But give me the Jags. Up next, Texans and Cardinals. Texans are favored by 9.5 points. Viewers, Texans will win this. Cardinals are kind of up and down. We'll have to see how they do personally. With the draft, because it might be time to move on from Kyler Murray at this point. So give me the Texans here, but it's going to be interesting to see what the Cardinals do after the season's over. Up next, it is Travis's Packers against the Broncos, and I will be honest here, this was one of my harder picks because, the Packers offense going against the Denver defense. Green Bay is favored by 2.5 points, but give me the Broncos. So I just trust their defense a hell of a lot more than Green Bay's. I think it will be a good game, and this is a win I think the Packers need, not to proceeding per se, but at least to show that, hey, we can beat a good defense and all that. Moving on to the next game, viewers, it is the Lions and Rams. Should be the game here we're watching here in Virginia that night. Rams are favored by 5.5 points to win this game. Lions have been up and down. Yes, the Lions just did beat the Cowboys, but Rams have been hot all year long. Rams are 5-1 at home. Give me the Rams here. Matthew Stafford's going to make his team a former nightmare. Also, up next, we have the Panthers and Saints. Give me the Panthers here. Panthers can win the division if they get some help from Tampa Bay losing. I don't trust the Saints. I think Saints are rebuilding. We knew that from the start of this year. So give me the Panthers to win this game. Panthers are favored by 2.5 points. Honestly enough, the Rams are only favored by 5.5. Next, Dave, and I'm going to say this, your team should not lose this. It is the Niners at home against the Titans. Give me the Niners here. Niners are favored by 12.5 points. Titans, hey, congratulations. You got your second win last week. Honestly enough, both of your wins have been on the road, which is hilarious. But give me the Niners, who are just a better overall team on paper. And then it's the Colts and Seahawks. Colts will most likely be starting Phillip Rivers out of retirement. I feel sorry for him because that offensive line's not that good. Colts are 2-4 on the road. Seahawks should win this game. By the way, the Seahawks are favored by 14 points. It's going to be a massacre, unfortunately. But the Colts do have a good running game, so that should help them. And then Sunday night, we have the Cowboys and Vikings. Give me the Cowboys. You know that's my team. Dallas is favored by 5.5. Loser of this will most likely be eliminated out of the playoffs at that point. Winner will keep their small percent chances alive. Give me Dallas to win though at home, as we've been a better home team this year than away. And then the last game of the week for this coming week, it is the Dolphins and Steelers. This was a hard pick for me because Dolphins are coming back, but they're not that good of a road team. Steelers, have been up and down all year long. Pittsburgh's favored by 3.5. I'm taking Pittsburgh just because the weather's calling for 22 degrees, and Taylor is not known for playing well in cold weather. Versus a good chance, depending what happens this weekend, it could be snowing in Pittsburgh. So give me the Steelers to win the game. So I have the Bucks, Ravens, Bears, Chargers, Chargers, Bills, Giants, Eagles, Jags, Texans, Broncos, Rams, Panthers, 49ers, Seahawks, Cowboys, and the Steelers winning the game. Let me know what you think in the comments section below. Good luck to your teams this week, and good luck to your fantasy teams as well this week as well. Again, this is the DOUG